leopard. We saw some blue sheep running, and then we thought there should be something. We waited. I and my other colleague, like we were waiting. We waited, and later, snow leopard attacked the blue sheep.
Welcome to Nature's Guardians. I'm Micah Siegel. Each week, I talk with people working to save and help animals around the world. They are nature's guardians, and you can become one too. Today, I'm talking with Rinzin Lama of Ukali. Welcome to the show, Rinzin.
Thank you, Michael.
Great to have you. So, tell us about your background and how you got into conservation.
So, as a youth, I studied forestry. So, I come from a forestry background actually, and then the reason I come from is not there are not that huge forest areas, and then the other thing is I became more adventurous in wildlife. So during my later years, so when I was doing my undergrad, like in the final year, so I got in contact with like few folks who were like doing intensive research on wildlife, and that was one of the feuding point. But before that also, I was really interested on the snow leopard because that was like something maybe I can share that story later, that has a very long lasting impact from very young age. And with the time, slowly I became interested in wildlife, and I joined the wildlife conservation, particularly the snow leopard.
So, tell us about some of the research you've done and how you're helping animals.
So it's been few years. It's been almost 1 decade now. So I have been studying multiple animals, like mostly high altitude wildlife in Nepal, focusing on snow leopard, Pallas cat, blue sheep, picas, and all these things. It's been almost 1 decade now, and I feel happy about that. Today, like we are doing a very what do you call, like intensive studies on high altitude wildlife. Including camera trapping and genetics, wildlife genetics, and all these things.
What was it like growing up in Nepal?
So I grew up in a very remote areas. In though when I was growing up, we had no road, no, like no jeep, no car, nothing. So we basically grew up in a very what do you call, like remote settings, and in a very what do you call, like close to nature. And as a youth, as a kid, like we spend most of the time with nature, climbing trees, like watching bird, playing with butterflies, playing with the water, stuff like that. So that was like, like the childhood was very what do you call, like I must say fun. It's full of joy.
Did you have any pets in your time as a child?
As a child, I think like in our area, what happened is every household have a dog, guarding dog. So I used to have dog, and then there were puppies, and then apart from dog, we also have cat. I still have cat actually now also, but it's not here around.
Very cute. Tell us about the first time you saw a snow leopard.
That's a very good question. So when, as a kid, when I was growing up, so I often hear a story about snow leopard from my parents. Like I could remember like they speaking about snow leopard killing livestock, and as a kid, like I still remember very clearly, I had a very long, what do you call, like difficult memories, or what do you call, like impression that okay, then snow leopard must be some giant monster that is killing livestock, and that impression stayed with me for a long time until in 2007 when I saw it for the first time actually, and then that was the turning point for me, because as I thought, growing up as a kid, it was not a monster, it was a beautiful creature, and then like since then, what you call, like it has a very long lasting impact on my career, and today I'm a conservation biologist.
Yeah, so tell us about snow leopards. What have you learned?
So snow leopard are very elusive species. They are found in tubal range countries throughout the South and Central Asia, including Nepal. And then snow leopards, like they live in some of the most difficult terrains in the world, and it's really hard to see them because of their nocturnal and because of their elusive behavior. And we biology, we often rely on their science, and then we use camera trap to study them. So they are the species, like who are not very friendly, who are very shy, and and then who camouflage very well with its natural surroundings, and that is what makes us sighting very difficult. So it's a very brief about that. And one interesting fun fact is that like unlike other cats, snow leopard doesn't roar. Like that is why we call it sometimes silent roar, because snow leopard yells. Like we call it yelling instead of roaring.
How many are there and how many have there been? Have their numbers declined?
So the number of snow leopard is quite good now. Globally, their number is estimated around, between 5 to 7,000. So it's a guess, because the snow leopard lives in such a vast landscape, and studying their population is not very easy. So we depend on the what you call like sample studies. Based on these sample studies throughout its range, the global snow leopard population is estimated up to 7,000. And speaking about my country, our national snow leopard population is estimated between 3 to 400.
So how do they live in the wild? Like what do they
So snow leopard, they like rugged, and rocky outcore where they can hide, and where they can ambush or they can kill their prey. So speaking about the food, snow leopard primarily eats on blue sheep, orgali, marmot, livestock.
So how do you help snow leopards?
So what we do is we, first of all, in Nepal, what we are doing now is we are doing lots of camera trapping and genetics works to get their number in the area where we work, especially in the Ukali region where I come from. We are assessing the number of snow leopard and wild prey, and at the same time, we are also assessing the level of conflict with the herders, because snow leopard often kills livestock, because this livestock graze in snow leopard territory with snow leopard wild prey like blue sheep. And in most of the cases, snow leopard kills livestock. And the situation became more critical when snow leopard is engaged in mass killing. That is, snow leopard kills multiple animals at once. This is more common when mother and cubs are hunting, because mother kills one, and then in this situation the conflict is quite intensive, and it often results in retaliatory killing. So one of our main goal is to figure out the causes of this conflict and how to mitigate this conflict. And that is one of our priority, because the main goal is to reduce the direct threat from the humans to snow leopard.
What are snow leopards most closely related to?
Snow leopard's closest, how we call it, species tiger.
You mean leopards or tigers?
Tigers, not leopards. When we say leopards, but I think the based on the genetic and what you call like the is genetic studies, and is what you call like morphology studies, like the nearest, the closest cousin is tiger.
Do snow leopards live alone or in groups?
Snow leopards are solitary, but they comes in pair with females only during the mating times. That is between, like depending on January, February until March. So that time males and female comes together for very short times, maybe week to 10 days. And then males are solitary most of the times. And then females are with cubs. So, females, the cubs remains with the females up to like 2 years.
What have you learned that actually works to help snow leopards?
In If we speak about the program, human snow leopard conflict mitigation is the most important step for now, and not just for reducing the livestock loss and reducing the financial burden of the herders, but it is very important, like for the long-term survival of the snow leopard.
Does the Nepali government pay for animals that are taken?
Yes, we call compensation. There's a like the government of Nepal has a provision to compensate the loss from a certain animal that also include the snow leopard. But this is a little bit time-consuming process, and especially in the remote areas where I come from, they cannot easily go to the government officials and file for the compensation. So that is one limitation we have. Otherwise, there is a provision to compensate the loss.
Tell us some stories about like interactions that you've had with snow leopards.
So I'll share you a very interesting story. Like in 2000, it was in December 2014. So when I was starting a very intensive camera tracking study, and on the first day we were like walking on a like gorge. It was a like not a very deep gorge, but it's a gorge. And then we saw some movement because the blue sheep is the main prey of snow leopard. We saw some blue sheep running, and then we thought there should be something. We waited, I and my other colleague, like we waited, and later snow leopard attacked the blue sheep, but it failed because I think the snow leopard failed our presence in the area because they are so good with this smelling. And so that is one of the very what you call like well, clear impression, like post field season and post sighting. Usually this doesn't happen.
Yeah. So tell us about your organization, Ukali.
So Ukali is a is a what you call like a very pioneering community-led initiative. In my focus in my home region. In 2021, I received the prestigious Rolex Award for Enterprise, and with that fund, we started Ukali. So Ukali basically stands for Upper Karnali Landscape Initiative. So Karnali is the longest river in Nepal, and I come from the upper catchment of the river. And with Ukali, our main vision was, to like all the environmental graduate from the area. So we should, like come forward to take the lead on biodiversity conservation, wildlife conservation, without relying on somebody else to come and do that for us. So our goal is to lead by ourselves with our local capacities and local resources.
Tell us about your work in biodiversity.
So meanwhile, what we are doing is through Kali, we are not just focusing on snow leopard, we are also focusing on other wildlife resource, like the wildlife diversity. We are documenting the biodiversity, not just mammal, but also birds, snakes, reptiles, amphibian, and then even the snake, sorry, like insects, So the goal is to have an overall assessment of the biodiversity, what we have in terms of the overall biodiversity, and what species is facing what level of threats. The goal is also to identify that so that we have more concrete conservation plan.
Tell us about any of your projects that have had some impact.
I think like most of our project have quite good impact, I must say, because we designed the project not as an expert, we designed the project as a local resident. So what can be the local expectation, we try to work from that perspective. And speaking about our ongoing project, I think we have developed a very solid network of local conservation stakeholders or partners, including school level eco clubs. So we have 8 school level eco clubs, which roughly engage 3,000 students on a very ground level.
Can you give us a good example of one of them?
Yeah, like the best example is, earlier in 2023, in March 2023, we were celebrating World Wildlife Day, and we wanted to do multiple program at once. So we had a meeting, and then we decided to celebrate World Wildlife Day with like a different wildlife related awareness raising activities in 13 locations at once in a single day. And through our local network like school eco clubs and youth clubs, we were able to do that very successfully. And such type of things are not very common in remote areas where I come from, because we don't have phone access, we don't have internet in most of the areas. So in that sense, what we do, like it all depends on the preparation we do in advance. And that is what you call like, and with that preparation we have to organize and we have to complete the whole event, and then and after maybe like 5 days or 6 days, we all come together and with the report, and it's very exciting.
So I spoke with a guy who's working on stopping rhino poaching in Nepal. What do you know about poaching in the mountains of Nepal?
Exactly. So in mountain also we have some poaching pressure, but not like very intensive like in rhino and tiger. So in the mountains we have mox deer. It's called mox deer. Is the species that often comes in, like like what you call that, often is threatened from poaching. Apart from that, we have a problem of subsistence hunting. There are aboriginal hunting for subsistence, for meat, or for protein. These are some of the challenges that we deal most of the time.
Tell us about more species you work on and stories you have with them.
So in the mountains, we work on, like snow leopard is in the core. Apart from that, we work on blue sheep, musk deer, Himalayan black bear, marmot. Then we work on the bird of prey, like vulture. Vulture is something chukar patris. And then apart from that, we also have other ungulates like Tibetan wild ass, like Orgali sheep, gazelle, multiple things. There are lots of things. We try to protect all the species that are in the what you call like within the territory of the snow leopards.
So what good stories do you have of protecting the animals?
So about the story, there are different stories actually. Like one of the like best story could be, like I will not say story, but about experience. Like since we started working, like in the past, like there was never, usually people see wildlife and they don't care, right? But these days, since we have a program ongoing, and then we are getting lots of unexpected sightings of the wildlife. People bring it. For example, like langur. Himalayan langur is a species that is usually that lives close to the forest, and then there is also a record or photograph of this species occurring very further north in the high mountains, where usually we don't see that. And people are able to photograph that and they share with us. And these are like, and it doesn't happen one or two times. Most, like in case of many species, either is, for example, recently we have a photograph of the Himalayan black bear entering into the house and like eating on the beehive. So these are some of the interesting thing. We can call it a story, but it's also interesting thing. And I will share you a very interesting story. And the other one is, uh, so I come from a region called Ninva. It's in English, it's called Sunny Valley, Ninva Valley, Sunny Valley. And old people, our elders, they often share about the snow leopard sighting there, but we don't have evidence. We have never seen a snow leopard there before. But a group of school students who are studying in grade 9 and 10, they were there with their livestock and they saw like a creature with a long tail, chasing the horse. And then they were so frightened, and then they said like they were like hiding in the what you call tree set, and they were watching what is going on. And later one of the boys shouted, and and then the animal started chasing and it started escaping away, and they managed to take the photograph with their mobile phone, but it's not a very good quality. And then next day, I think next a few days later, they brought that picture to us for identification, and it was a snow leopard, the first manual picture of the snow leopard. And this kind of things happens in the field, and it was never documented. This never came on limelight before. But now, because I think one of the reasons is we are doing lots of outreach and lots of educational campaigns and programs. Like we are getting lots of records like this.
You got an award from Rolex. Tell us about that.
So Rolex, Rolex is basically a Rolex watch. So there's a what do you call, like, award. It's called Rolex Award for Enterprise. So this is the initiatives led by the Rolex itself. Sectors. I received the award in the environment category. So they award in different categories. They award this to the scientists who are working on different categories. Who are doing the like exceptional work, and that is supporting the human advancement, or that is supporting the well-being of the humanity. And I received this award in environment category.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What are your plans for the organization for the future?
So our main vision is to strengthen, the participation of the local communities in conservation. And and the other thing we really put in the core is the resilience, livelihood resilience of the community who are in the area. So our goal is to make grassroots level conservation sustainable. Maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, our goal is to sustain conservation financing by ourselves without relying on external sources. So that is our goal.
I hope that really goes well there.
Thank you. I hope so.
Before we finish, we have to talk about red pandas. So yeah, just tell us about them.
Red panda, like red panda is also like it's also NX1 species in Nepal. NX1 means like the species that is legally protected in Nepal, and they are such a cute animal. They are mostly common in the forest. So unfortunately, we don't have red panda in our region, but in Nepal, like they are distributed quite what do you call, like quite broadly, and then like they are facing a very excessive pressure from the poaching, because in most of the time people catch them and and they are killed in that way for poaching of their fur. We don't specifically work on red panda because we are more focusing on the high altitude areas, and red panda lives a little bit lower. But we have our colleagues, very good colleagues who works on red panda, and they are the leaders in red panda conservation.
Yeah, we'll interview them too. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you for a fascinating conversation, Rinzin, and thank you for watching. You can help animals by hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel. I'll see you next time on Nature's Guardians. Bye.